Okay, we're continuing in Mesilas Yesharim. We start with Perek Daled. It's called B'derech Kniyas Zehirus, and the way of acquiring Zehirus, right? Watchfulness. Okay, fine. So let's see what he says. Right. So last time we left off, really, he really told us a way to acquire Zehirus. It's interesting, right? Because he said, what did he tell? Like the big message takeaway from last time we learned was cheshbon, right? You gotta do a cheshbon, bo cheshbon, go and do a cheshbon, right? So that's a way to acquire watchfulness, is it not? Right. So remember, there's a system here that, right? First he explains the trait, then he goes deeper into the elements, details of the trait. Then he talks about ways of acquiring the trait. And then the next chapter is anything that can prevent you from acquiring the trait. Right? Let me just make sure. Right? Perek Hey is Bebeir Mapside Hazehirus, right? What things that make you lose out from watchfulness and how to get rid of avoid those things. Okay? So then, why did he put the cheshbon in the previous section? Why did he put this, right? I think the answer would be, is cheshbon, right? Cheshbon is, how do I say this? Cheshbon is part of the process of watchfulness, right? Meaning cheshbon is the thing that allows you to dissect your actions and choose the good ones and avoid the bad ones, right? Now he's going to tell you how to, how to be, I'm not sure. Okay, let's see, right?
You don't think that he gives a bit of a introduction, an overview in acquiring and not losing in the first chapter? So he says, okay, watchfulness is important. You acquire watchfulness by this process of cheshbon and analysis. Then you have to be careful. He talks about the two pillars. Sometimes you could mistake you can not even see a pillar. Sometimes you can mistake a pillar for a person. There's going to be obstacles along the way. You have to watch out for those. If you don't, you're going to lose it.
Right. So I'm not sure.
So he kind of builds a small skeleton of
the way.
Of the way.
Okay, I'm not sure. Let's see what he says in this chapter, and let's see how it corresponds with the previous chapter. Okay, so let's see. So what brings a person to the general concept of Zehirus, of watchfulness? Who limud Torah is learning Torah. Right? In other words, awareness. Right? Simple. Right? If you learn Torah, you are aware of more things. As you are aware of more things, you're going to be more watchful of those things. Right? Okay, so that's simple. And that's really what Rabbi Pinchas says in the beginning of this brisa that we're kind of basing this whole sefer on. Torah mevia l'dei Zehirus. Torah brings to Zehirus. Right? So the first step is Torah. Torah brings you to the midah of Zehirus. Learning Torah makes you be more aware. Okay. Amnam al derech prat, but if you want to be more specific, right? Things that will specifically lead you to be watchful. What will bring you to this? Who his boinus contemplation on the stringency, gravity of the service, asher chayev bo ha'odam, which a person is obligated, ve'oimek hadin aleha, and the depth of judgment on it, right? The depth. So what's the difference between chomer ha'avoida, the stringency or the gravity of the avoida, and the judgment that results from it? Is these saying the same thing different ways? right? In general, when we think of chomer ha'avoda, right, the stringency of the avoda, we mean if you don't do this, good. If not, right? So, right, clearly, I think he means something else here.
Yeah.
So, chomer avoda just means. Okay, well, let's come back to it. Okay. Anyway, so v'yotzeh min ha'iyun, and that will come when a person, delves deeply b'maisim haksuvim b'sifrei hakodesh, in the stories that are written in the Sifrei HaKodesh, in other words, in Tanakh. Okay, so that's very interesting, right? So he wants to know, you want to know where to pick up Musar? You want to know where to pick up Musar? Go learn Tanakh. Okay, that's what he says. But not superficially learn Tanakh, but iyun hamaisim, right? When you delve deeper into those actions, then you will appreciate, right? In other words, the stories of the Sifrei Tanakh, according to him, bring out the most ideal picture of avodas Hashem, right? This is Tanakh. This is, so in the end of the day, this is Tanakh. This is not some, mifil again the Drevnei, right? This is Tanakh. Tanakh is coming to teach you something. So if you want to delve deeper into Tanakh, that is going to uplift you to the level of this ideal of avodas Hashem. So that's one. And also, of course, learning those statements of Chazal that bring you to, like, meaning Agadic statement, that bring you to understanding of avodas Hashem. Right? So again, so three, right? So, I'm sorry. So it's again. So it's learning things that will make you appreciate the gravity of avodas Hashem. And what are those things that will make you appreciate the gravity of avodas Hashem? Is Tanakh and Chazal. Right. This basically the Musar from Tanakh and Chazal. Okay. Okay, but let's see. Now you need inspiration. And not everybody in this hisbonus, in this contemplation of chomer ha'avoda, of the stringency of the avoda, there are different levels. Okay, not everything. This is an important, very important lesson for chinuch, and I should just internalize this myself. Not everything that motivates one person will also motivate another person. Right? There are different people are motivated by different things. Right? Depending, so he divides into three categories. L'shleimei hadas, people who are have a perfect knowledge, or like a wholesome knowledge. Right? That's shleimus, right? Shleimei hadas. Let's call them perfectionists. Somebody who is just lower than them. Let's say they call them the average folk. Well, not sure, not the average folk, but let's call them. Let's give them a good name. So we got the perfectionists, we got the almost perfectionists, and then everybody else. Okay, so the perfectionists are the perfectionists, the competitionists, and everybody else. Okay, so we call them. Because there's a reason why I'm calling them competitionists, because that's what he's going to say later. Okay, so we got the perfectionists, the competitionists, and hamoinam. Right? So these are the three categories, and they need different types of inspiration. So let's see. I'm going to read a little faster. For those that are perfect of das, they will be inspired, but when it becomes clear to them, that only perfection is something that's worth pursuing. Okay, so shleima people who are perfectionists will be motivated by striving for perfection, not by anything else. Because really there is no evil greater than missing perfection. Right? Because the difference between perfection and just one little millimeter off that is infinity. Is infinity. Right? Is infinity. Coming yay close to perfection is just not, it's just, it's in a certain sense almost not worth trying. Not sure if I shouldn't say that, but right. But that's the idea. The idea is that the great loss of missing out on perfection is like the worst loss that could be. Okay. Once it becomes clear to them, and clarified, I'm sorry, read it wrong. Then once they understand this idea that lack of perfection is a terrible tragedy, and they will also be clarified to them that the things that get you to perfection are good actions and good midos, right? They will not want they would never want to minimize on any of these intermediaries or even to lighten them a bit. Once you realize that you can get perfection only through accumulation of every possible good action and every possible good midah, right? So then you will do whatever you can in order to pick up every single one. Right? Because it will be clarified to them that if there is going to be some sort of decline, some kind of loss in these emtsoyim, or the emtsoyim will be fulfilled in a weak way, not in full force that's necessary for them, they will never reach true perfection. Rather, they will lose on some of the perfection in proportion to the lack of their effort. And they will come out to be missing that perfection. That to them is a great tragedy and a great evil. Therefore, they will choose nothing but total increase and total completion of all their conditions, and they will not rest, and they will not be peaceful from the worry that they will worry that they might miss out something small that will prevent them reaching that perfection, which is what they desire. That's what Shlomo Melech says, Ashrei Odom Mefached Tomid. Praiseworthy is a person who is constantly fearful. Ashrei Odom Mefached Tomid. Right? Upershu Zechronim Lebroch, and our rabbis explained, Hu b'divrei Torah ksiv. This pasuk is written in regards to the words of Torah. What does that mean? That means that let's see. So what he is about to do now is going to connect the beginning of a person's avodas Hashem, which is Zehirus, right? Is really how should I say it? It really it already encapsulates within that first step the last step, which is Yiras Chet, right? So he's saying, that the end of this watchfulness, this madrega of what he calls mefached tamid, right? This is what the Shlomo Melech just told us, to be mefached tamid, to be constantly fearful. The end of that madrega, hine nikras yiras chet, is what's called fear of sin. Okay, so again, just understanding that Ramchal is going to have three levels of Yiras Hashem. The first level of Yiras Hashem is the lowest one, where you're afraid Hashem is going to patch. That's the lowest level of Yiras Hashem. Then it's called Yiras Musay. Again, that's a standard that you're mesmerized. You're completely like, what's the word? Aghast? No, not aghast, but I don't know. Okay, whatever. You're completely awed by his awesomeness. Okay, that's just whatever, right? You understand that, right? So that's Yiras Musa. But then there's the next level of Yiras Chet, where what he understands, you're afraid that you will pick up any element of imperfection within your avodas Hashem. So that's Yiras Chet. You're not just afraid of Hashem, right, and His greatness, You're not just not only, but you're afraid to that since you meaning so that yiras chet is a combination of love of Hashem and yiras Hashem, because it's your love of Hashem that's driving you to cling to Hashem so closely that you're afraid that there should be possibly anything that will separate you from that, right? So that's yiras chet, is the idea that you want to make sure that there's not a single molecule of chet, of that imperfection within your avodas Hashem, right? So that's a third level of yira, right? The end of this madrega is called yiras chet. Shehi mina mishabacha madregas. It's the greatest of the madregas. V'hu odam yirei tamid. And that madrega is that a person is constantly fearful, v'doyeg, and worried, that he will find in his hand any sort of remnant of chet, any sort of the dirt of chet, that will prevent him from reaching the shleimus, the perfection, which he is obligated to make an effort towards, right? So that's what he understands. He's understanding Ashri Adam Mefachei Tamid is, why are you Mefachei Tamid, right? Why are you constantly paranoid, right? You're paranoid because you want to make sure that there is nothing that will separate you from reaching that, prevent you from reaching that perfection, and separate you from Hashem, because that is ultimate perfection, right? Again, it goes back to his introduction, right? That you need to figure out what is the ultimate perfection, and the ultimate perfection is avodas Hashem and getting closer to Hashem. Okay, Val ze omru zichronim livracha, and that regarding this, our sages said, Al derech hamoshel melamed shekol echad nichve mechupase shel chaverei, that every person will in the world to come, every person gets singed by the chuppah of his friend, right? In Olam Haba, you will see everybody in their madrega, and you will be kind of shamed by other people's madrega, right? So you'll see somebody else higher than you, your friend's going to be higher than you, and you're going to be like, oh, how come he's higher than me and I'm over here? Okay? But he says, Ki ein ze mitam hakina. Now, it can't be that it's because of jealousy, right? Which is what it sounds like, right? If I'm afraid, I'm upset that this guy is higher than me in my madrega, so that sounds like I'm jealous, right? So what is it not than jealousy? So, but asher tipol rak bechasrei hadas. It can't be because of jealousy, because jealousy is only found by those that are lacking in das, lacking in knowledge. Like I will explain further with God's help. No, is that he will realize, because he will see his friend on a higher madrega than him, it will make him realize that he's going to be ashamed that he was not able that he missed an opportunity and lost his chance to reach the madrega that he was able to reach. Right? So it's not jealousy, but it's the recognition of failure. It's the recognition of personal failure, right? So that's right. So that's the idea. The idea is that in the world to come, we will look back and realize all of those missing opportunities, right? And we'll feel bad that we could have done it and we didn't do it. That's the pshat of kol echad nichve mechupasei shel chaverei. Again, that's what he calls al derech hamoshel, right? That's the parable, because it can be because of jealousy. It's got to be because of awareness of personal shortcoming. Awareness of personal shortcoming. One second. Right. So what is he saying? What was the point of saying this here? The point of saying this here is to say that this is Shleimei Hadas, who will be motivated by their pursuit of perfection, right? is saying that in the world to come, you will feel a regret for missing out on that potential for perfection. Right? So it's a reinforcement of this idea for Shlei Me'adas. Okay, it's a little weak. Okay, let's see. It's going to be. Let's just finish that last sentence, and then we'll continue next week. Based on this type of contemplation, that certainly somebody who has a wholesome knowledge, he will not prevent himself from being very extra vigilant, extra watchful in his actions. Right? So that's his inspiration for Zehirus for Shleimei Hadas. Okay? We'll see then what's the next level. What's the next level of people, the competitionists, what are they going to be inspired by? Again, then we'll come back to see how that relates to this concept of Odom Nichra Mechul Poser Shel Chaveiro, because it's not so clear. Okay.